Hi. Let's finish talking about 47 Ronin.
Musical styles are still a very important form of communication for our young people. Hi, I'm Joe Feinstein.
If you didn't watch the last video, or you just couldn't tell by the title of this one, this is actually a part 2. I'm going to have part 1 linked below in the description, but before I get on to the other talking points about this film, I did want to briefly mention, we recently passed our 2-year anniversary on the channel, and YouTube algorithms being as ridiculous as they are, it's pretty tough getting your name out there. So if you've been enjoying the content, if you want to see more of it, please consider subscribing and telling a couple of your friends about it. I'd love to dedicate some more time to the channel, and I'd love to hit 1,000 subscribers before our 3-year anniversary, and your help would mean the world to me. So that's out of the way, let's get back to what I wanted to really talk about. The scene I want to talk about first is the Asano poisoning scene. Not only is this the first time in the film we get a real sense of the witch's powers outside of her ability to shapeshift, but it perfectly illustrates why she's such an unnerving presence throughout the film. It starts with us just seeing her shadow as she approaches the room, and then turning into just her cloak when she comes properly into frame, floating on the wind throughout the room. And it's not up until she blossoms out of the cloak upside down and releases a spider, you notice that it's actually done in one fluid shot. You could almost call it silky.
I know, I'm sorry.
After the brief prologue, the film properly starts with Kai saving Yasuno from a forest beast that the party was after. The scene is important for 2 big reasons. First, Yasuno feels ashamed by being saved from someone he considers to be inferior.
I would rather have been killed by that beast than saved by a half-breed.
But once everyone has come back and they're on their way to get revenge, he stops Kai and apologizes for his behavior, even giving him equal recognition.
Forgive me for not thanking you for defeating the beast and saving my life. A samurai does not take credit for victories of others. This belongs to Basho, a samurai who has 2 souls.
But secondly, it serves both as a show don't tell, as well as a show and then expand on moment. Oishi is the only one of the party that notices Kai's hands are covered in the beast's blood, realizing that it was Kai and not Yasuno that slew the beast, yet he never speaks of it. When the hunting party returns and Mika sees the injury that Kai sustained, she says,
"I saw the shame in Yasuno's eyes when they were praising him. Even when you try to help them, they hate you."
Meaning that she too quickly determined what actually happened out there. A bit later on in the tournament, Kai is discovered to have taken Yasuno's place after Yasuno was poisoned. For his shame and disgrace, he's stripped of the armor he's wearing and severely beaten by a few of Asano's men. Until one of the retainers stops the others. Now, this character is Basho. He is an incredible side character that, in the brief amount of time we do get with him, does incredible work with his material. Just after he stops the others from beating Kai, he whispers to him,
I'm sorry.
Before giving him one final strike to put him down, already showing his compassion for this man who was always unfairly treated. During a later fight scene, the Ronin are ambushed and many of them fall, one being Basho, who like a total Boromir takes 3 arrows while trying to save someone else. Before he passes away, he confides in and apologizes to Kai.
When I was a boy, I used to wait in the woods outside your hut. I'd throw stones at you, then hide. I'm sorry, Kai. You're a good man.
And that's not even counting the brief comedic relief scene we get with him.
What's so special about these swords? What do they do?
Depends. Who uses them?
What about a tall, strong, brave man like me?
They cut.
I think mine is broken.
This guy is just great all around, and I couldn't do a part 2 without mentioning him. When Oishi sets out for revenge and finds Kai at the Dutch port doing gladiatorial-style fights, he breaks Kai out, and the two have an incredible fight scene and an even better escape scene. It's not until Oishi mentions Mika that Kai wakes up and realizes he has a chance to escape. And even then, they end up forming a plan on the go without saying a word to each other. And if I weren't so worried about copyright, I'd put the main Pirates of the Caribbean music over the scene to show you just how alike they are in terms of choreography, shooting, and pyrotechnics. But it's great nonetheless. Some true Jack and Will vibes going on with these two. Something I feel incredibly dumb for not noticing the first 2 times seeing this film, and only caught when I was done editing the first part of this video, is the color palette of the film being in sync with where the story is. At the start, everything is vibrant, showing off all the different colored armor, the paints on the buildings, the blossoming trees, but once we get the time skip and Yoshinaka takes over, everything gets muted down. A lot of grays, browns, and muted tones of green and blue. It's not until the Ronin accomplish their mission and head home do the colors of the world start to come back, finally getting back to the full vibrancy of the start once the Ronin prepare themselves for death. The last action set piece of the film is by far the best. The Ronin secretly infiltrate Yoshinaka's castle and start silently taking out guards before the main attack. Everything is fantastically choreographed, and there's a wonderful sense of tension in the air. Though surprisingly, it's not so much the fight between Kai and the witch that's fascinating, but rather the duel between Oishi and Yoshinaka. It starts with a brief moment of quiet before they start jabbing at each other through the wooden wall panel. They can only see each other's swords, not each other. So every time the sword bursts through the wall, we have no idea where it's going to come out on the other side. And it's not until Oishi literally runs through the wall that they can properly engage. Yoshinaka ends up using 2 swords while Oishi loses his, and yet Oishi absolutely hands Yoshinaka his ass. He's bull rushed through multiple walls, he gets repeatedly decked in the schnoz, and ultimately stabbed to death. It's insane how much of a powerhouse Oishi is, even after his year in the pit. Once again, calling back to that true Bushido way that lays at the heart of this film. Honor and loyalty above all else. And it's with that, I want to talk about the biggest and best decision the film made. Oishi is just as much the main character as Kai. If you compare this to The Last Samurai, where though the main event is focused around Katsumoto, but our lens is through Nathan Algren, we get the same here. Kai is simply who we're seeing the story through, but it's mainly about Oishi and the justice he seeks. Come to think of it, this movie has a lot of parallels with The Last Samurai. A Westerner getting involved in an Eastern conflict, the main character falls for the daughter of the local ruler, all the heroes die at the end to defend the old ways. The only difference is that this movie is technically more historically accurate than The Last Samurai was. And yeah, I say that even knowing this movie has demons in it. So, there we have it. Proof in the pudding that this movie is definitely worth your time. So, go check it out, and I guarantee you, you're going to have a newfound appreciation for the Eastern and Western merging of cinema. And hey, if you like more of these multi-part videos in the future, let me know in the comments. But I'm curious, what do you think?
Musical styles are still a very important form of communication for our young people. Hi, I'm Joe Feinstein.